Welcome back to the WCS America Challenger League qualifiers. We're here in game number 2 between Jaedong and Nony, and a lot of people are surprised, but Nony is up 1-0 right now.
That was an amazing game number 1. I mean, Nony with the build order switch into the Zealot Archon push, which, I mean, is exactly what he needed to do against Jaedong. And Jaedong kind of got caught a little bit off guard, I would have to say, about that, and didn't really do so well. Nony took perfect advantage of the situation that he was in and was able to take a victory. Let's see if he can do it again.
Just one more time, Nony.
All right, guys, spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Protoss player. He has impressed us so far. Can he impress us again? That is the question here today. It is Nony. Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner. Our Zerg player yet again. He is from Evil Geniuses. It is our red Zerg player, Jaedong. Man, I am just so curious what's going on in Jaedong's head right now, because, I mean, when we saw DreamHack, we saw every single time Jaedong did any type of ZVP, it was zergling, 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 zergling. And now that he's run into something that can counter that, what does he do? Does he change his plan? The one time, you know, that I saw him change his plan, it really went south.
You know, that's kind of the curse of almost practicing one build an insane amount, is that because you're so good at that, you feel reluctant to transition out. So even if he scouts them, you're like, he's doing something that might counter me. But I should still stick with what I'm doing because it's what I practice, it's what I'm so good at. And we'll have to see if he'll mix things up here on Whirlwind.
So once again, a gate expand coming out here from Nony. He's got the gateway going down as well as the gas. So hopefully we're going to see the same exact build coming out of him again. I don't know if I really completely agree with it on a map like Whirlwind where you don't know where your opponent is. We can see Jaedong is scouting out here, but Nony is not scouting out at all. And so going for those 2 Zealots very early would be a little bit of an interesting choice if he doesn't scout at all and possibly runs those Zealots into just a wrong base.
He would have to use the first Zealot to scout, I guess.
Yeah.
And then hopefully he'll figure out by the time Mothership Core and second Zealot comes out. He's very stubborn about it. He loves the gateway expand. And you know what? He makes it work.
He does.
Yeah,
he does. He made it work pretty well last game.
Yeah.
He forced so many Zergling out there. And that was, you know, allowed him to get pretty good information of what was going on in Jaedong's base so that he could actually just say, okay, he's just going for nothing but Speedlings. I'm going to transition into the build that counters nothing but Speedlings.
You know, Heart of the Storm, the gateway expands are considered a lot more popular than they were Wings to Liberty, and that really goes hand in hand with Nony's style. I mean, it could be, you know, this new game, this new, you know, all the new things that are coming out in this game are really what he needs to get to that next level.
And, you know, maybe he was just you know what? I'm going to stop playing Wings of Liberty because I can't gateway expand. Now I can gateway expand. I'm going to start playing Heart of the Swarm again.
Definitely could be part of it. This time, though, going for the more conventional gateway expand, where you get the Nexus before you invest in all those additional units. Of course, probably like you mentioned, because he doesn't know where his opponent is, so going out to pressure would be a little bit risky as far as he could go to the wrong place. And
of course, you don't want to, you know, show up to the wrong house for the party.
No,
that's going to be awkward.
He goes to the top left, sees no base, and the Zealots are like looking at each other.
Shows up with a 30-pack. Hey guys, I'm here for the oh. Other house, right. Yeah. Never mind. I'll be right back.
So he's going to scout with this Mothership Core. He's trying to find the angle that a unit comes in at. Maybe he can find an Overlord, and that can tell him where his opponent spawned. Behind us, getting a Forge faster than he did last game. So using a Forge into Wall. So we're not going to see the same gateway aggression with the Warpins, but we are going to see him progress to a more normal game. And you know what? He does love air units. I think we may see some Skytoss here.
I would really, oh man, Skytoss, I mean, like, as a non-Zerg or Protoss player, Skytoss is one of my favorite things to watch. Specifically because everything in the Protoss army for the air shoots out lasers, and it's very pretty, and it's just great to watch. And that's just, it hits me at a very primal level, I guess, of humanity. But Skytoss in general is very, very strong. Even in some situations, able to take out just nothing but pure Hydra if you play it right.
Oh, definitely. You know, Hydra's timings can be scary, but in the late game, Mass Hydra kind of just loses to just about anything. Look at this, a second Forge going up and a full Wallen. So
maybe not. I don't think
Yeah,
we're going to be
wait,
seeing
no.
Sky Toss. I mean, with this
two
double
forges.
forge, you gotta get those double upgrades. Unless you want to play mind games, of course.
So Jaedong mixing it up though. He's going for the Roach Warren. So it's unclear. Is Nony going for some type of upgrade? Time attack, just fast upgrades into the third base. There goes the Twilight Council.
So he's got the Twilight Council as well. Yeah, I think we're just going to see a lot of upgrades. And I think he's going to play a little bit more defensive. I mean, this is not an awful map for defensive. There's a lot of ramps. You can rely on sentries for a much longer time. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to deal with these roaches.
First scout of the game coming out right now. It is a Phoenix scout. And now, well, most important things going to tell him where his opponent is, but also seeing the Roach Horn is going to be a nice win for Nony, because if he tries to do that same mass charge at Archon strategy, even though he's going to have pretty good upgrades this game, it's not going to work that great against speed roaches. Of course, they can kite around the zealots pretty effectively and then deal with those. So right now, it looks like he's aiming for some type of mass upgraded charge shot timing, but I think he's going to change his build upon seeing that, seeing that Roach Horn out.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, an interesting thing to note is that right now we're seeing a lot of Phoenix Scouts, but after the potential patch, after the balance patch that's been proposed, we'll probably start seeing a lot more Oracle Scouts, because Oracle speed and acceleration is going to be increased. And so now you'll have fake Oracles to deal with, as well as real Oracles to deal with. And you're going to have to decide which one's real and which one's not. It's going to be very scary for Zerg players to decide how to defend that.
Definitely will be if you guess wrong, you think it's fake, and all of a sudden your drones disappear. You're going to be quite an unhappy Zerg.
Oracles, little-known magicians. So a lot of Zergling coming out here, but they're going to get chased away by so many Zealots actually out here already. But there's actually not that many sentries, which makes me think that Nony's not actually going to push out immediately. He does have this Mothership Core. And he does have recall available, actually, as well as 200 energy. So he could photon overcharge or recall, depends on whatever the heck he wants to decide. But with no sentries, I'm going to say he's just going to keep getting... Oh, wow. He actually... I did not notice that he grabbed High Templar Archives as well.
Going for that charge out Archon combination with great upgrades. Now, speed roaches with Burrow are going to be problematic. Of course, Photon Cannon can help detect the burrowed units, but the other problem is just that roaches with speed can kite pretty well against the Zealots. Now, it's going to come down a lot to upgrades though, because Jaedong's first upgrade is just started, and Nony's working on 2 too. So Zealots with enough upgrades, and especially if you can use a time warp so they can't kite you, they can actually take on these roaches.
Ooh, a lot of Blings actually run in. They're going to get a pretty good scat off on the third base, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to escape from here. This is pretty much going to be their tomb here, as, yeah, nice little force field is going to be able to clean the rest of that up. One of them does burrow.
Revealing the fact that he has burrow. It's unsure how worth that is, because, now Nony's going to have to be very aware of that the roaches could do so as well, but here's a giant swarm of roaches coming in. Jaedong with a massive supply advantage. Of course, this is Zerg. When you take the 3 bases and you don't go for those crazy upgrades, can Nony stop this push?
And that's going to be a really scary point here, is that he has burrow. And there's no detection out here for Nony already. He doesn't even have a photon cannon at the front, and here comes all those roaches.
Oh no,
and as soon as there's an engagement, there's going to be a nice little burrow so they can heal back up. Time Warp does go down. The Archons now coming in here, trying to do as much damage as possible. They are getting some really good force fields. Are those Archons going to be able to clean up everything, though? That's the question. They have not taken any damage. The Zealots being the brunt force here, taking so much of that punishment from these roaches, but more and more roaches pouring in here. Going to be able to get a flank to take out those sentries. That's at least a small victory, and it looks like the Archons are going to be targeted down here, though.
Oh man, it's just a disaster for Nony there. I mean, he traded decently in that battle, but losing that Forge when level 2 attack was literally a second from being finished is such a gigantic blow. The good news is, though, he's got a lot of warp gates just warping in now, so he can reinforce at a very fast rate.
But he can't engage too early. I mean, look at it right now. He's getting completely chased back by these Zergling and Roaches. He has to bide his time. He has to wait for more and more warp in. But behind this, the longer he tries to buy to deal with this force, Axelife, right behind this, there's 12 Hydras coming out.
Those Hydras could be the problem. If he can get through the Roaches fast enough, of course, Charge at Archon will destroy the Hydralist, but there's so many Roaches in front of them, that's going to be a great tanking force for Jaedong. I can't help but think Nony would actually be looking very good this game if he just was able to get that level 2 weapons upgrade finished. That was such an unfortunate moment, and now this combination Roach Hydra is going to be tough to deal with. He won't have Guardian Shield, he won't have Force Fields, he will have a Time Warp available, but one Time Warp, it may not be quite enough here.
Now, there are only a couple of Hydras now coming in here. They're starting to get their speed upgrades. They're about to finish up 12 more Roaches on the way behind this. So now Nony has to defend this, as well as 12 more Roaches that are going to be rallied across. A nice little Time Warp is going to allow him to get a little bit more extra damage on this army. The Zealots actually coming in from a pretty good angle. Not spectacular, but these Hydras are doing so much damage. But they are actually getting a little bit exposed here, as the Roaches are not positioned perfectly. Nony taking pretty good position, but still, those Archons are pretty vulnerable now.
They are. He's got to get some more Zealots in front. He doesn't want to lose too many Archons.
Oh, he comes in from behind with the Zealots to go for the Hydras, but the Roaches actually once again acting as tanks for those Hydras. The Hydras keep repositioning beautifully. Jaedong with some great positioning, posturing his army perfectly so the Hydras are taking the least amount of damage possible.
Oh, but mass warpings from Nony. 3 more Archons being morphed. Jaedong's army, his reinforcements are only coming in straggling amounts. The mass weapons of Nony may be able to throw him off yet again.
Oh, he has to be very, very careful here that he doesn't get caught between the natural and the rest of the Zealots. The Roach is poking in here to give him a little bit more forewarning of what's coming to what's coming at him. Now here comes all those Roaches. They are taking so much damage. The Zealots going straight for the Roaches, not for the Hydras. The Hydras are doing so much damage to the Archons, but the Archons are actually starting to clean them up. Is Nony going to be able to hold off this attack?
Such even trades going on by both players, but one of the Archons is solo. It gets sniped off. The Roaches are kiting away, but another wave of Zealots comes in.
But more and more Roaches are filtering in here as well, so it's going very back and forth. This is just a constant battle. We haven't seen the end of this come yet, and it looks like Jaedong is just barely going to be able to take the lead. Takes out one more Archon. Now pushing forward, more and more Zealots coming in here. But with +2 just about to finish up, and Nony has not started any more upgrades.
Oh, he's at 2-2 right now, starting at level 3rd upgrade. Storm is moments from completion. That could be what he needs to get back in this game. A couple key massive storms.
He does have a couple of High Templar hiding back here in the back of the base, but it looks like now Jaedong's going to start assaulting the natural, actually going straight on into the main base itself. A couple of storms do go down. The rest of the Zealots that were chasing after that army will get focused off. More upgrades coming out here from Jaedong to be +1 carapace. Storm has been spent on those Roaches. They burrow to avoid being killed.
And there's no detection for Nony. Jaedong finally discovers that, starts utilizing that burrow to keep his units alive. Remember, Roaches have a fast regeneration rate while burrowed. Even without that upgrade, it's still 5 hit points per second.
And now actually the Hydra is actually a little bit out of position. The Roaches are not protecting them as they should be, but it's okay. The Roaches still coming in here, being able to clean up so many of these Zealots. There's no more High Templar out here for Nony. He doesn't have any more storms. He just has to rely on his numbers, but the numbers are all in Jaedong's favor. GG. Game number 2.
Wow. That was an intense game, you know. I was surprised Nony still stuck with that charged Archon composition even when he saw the Roach Horn. But, you know, if you could just get those upgrades finished,
I think
that was so huge.
I completely agree with you. That second upgrade that just got canceled, that was really kind of the nail in the coffin there for Nony. He fended off very well. He had 3rd base. Everything was going pretty well, but unfortunately, he just had to deal with a perfectly positioned army of Roaches and Hydras time and time again. And, you know, when you're spending all of your attacks on those Roaches and not on the very, very feeble Hydras, you're going to be taking so much DPS, so much damage. You can see here 3 Archons being poked off just by those Hydras alone, while the Roaches just bait so many attacks from the Zealots and all the charges as well.
Definitely. You know, I was impressed with the fact that the charge-outs did so well. Because normally Roaches are such a hard counter to charge lots, but as soon as a Zerg adds Hydras to the composition, they can't kite anymore. And if a Roach can't kite against a Zealot, all of a sudden it's stat for stat, and the Zealots actually do more damage per second than the Roach, and they have slightly more life as well. So that actually worked out really well for Nony. Just some of the engagements just couldn't quite happen for him.
All right, guys, we're going to get into game number 3 here very shortly. We're going to run to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.